Thanks so much for your time, Rome. I had to get you for a part two, man, because you were giving me a really nice deep dive in your experience in the fashion industry. And I just want to spend just a minute more on that before we move to your next level of artistic expression in terms of your experience first going into the theater. And tell me about what you see at that time as opposed to now, what you see in the whole fashion industry and what it looks like to you.
You know, at this time, there's different elements of fashion for me now. I mean, I left fashion for a minute and came back to it, whereas I went from designing clothes into being a wholesale, buying the clothes wholesale and selling them retail, going to the fashion district and picking up items that I thought were fashionable for people to wear, and I had a little business going with my wife and I. We had a little store. Yeah. Anyway, so and we, like I said, I used to sell these clothes, and I used to do it in the store. But my real thing was to be more personal and go to the different office buildings throughout the city and have clients all over the place. And
so we're talking about going into the traditional garment district. At a time where almost 60% of America's clothing were made at that time.
That's right.
And still rolling racks, still coming up and down the street.
Yes.
So those days are long gone, and since you were there, Rome, I want you to talk a little bit about that whole process of going into the garment district, finding fabrics, making relationships with the different fabrics and textile people. I want you to really get into that a little bit.
But it's not much to get into that, Kevin. It's like you go there around 37th Street, 7th Avenue, and you go into these buildings, and if you are you see these wholesalers, and it's a hustle, it's a hustle that goes on, that because they some of these items they get for little or nothing to make clothes, and they charge exorbitant prices.
That's right.
Mine was to get the best deal for my customers, and present it to them at a bargain price. Personal items for them that they wanted sometimes, but at that time I was into it, and people were into wearing clothes. They were into styling.
Exactly.
In the different, even office buildings and city workers, they were really into wearing these outfits.
Exactly.
And they would talk about it, and the ladies would get together, and you see which one wears out dresses the other one each day they come to work. It was part of the whole aura of being a worker. They gave them a special creative feeling that they didn't have, just going to work during that time.
Right.
Dressing was part of it.
Right.
And then I think recessions came into being, and money started getting slack, and everything started falling back.
Right.
They didn't buy as much, and they stopped. And I came out of that business. I mean, after putting 8 years in it, I had to come out, because people really weren't buying. They weren't worried about dressing; they were worried about putting food on the table, and paying their rent. So
right.
It was important.
So, Rome, let's segue a little bit into your entree into the theater. Where did that begin?
Well, when like I said, I wrote that play, but that wasn't where it began to get it into the theater. After I graduated from Baruch College with a business degree, I just decided to, you know, okay, I worked at Alexander's, doing some intern work there. So, you know, I was really into retailing and things of that sort. But then when I got out of school, there were like limited jobs available. But so they had this program called the CETA program.
Right.
You remember CETA?
Yes, I do.
Federally funded program where they got us jobs to work, you know. And so my thing was, they said, where do you want to work at? And since I had taken a theater class in Baruch College, that was my first, you know, Theater 101. And I felt a little something with theater at that time.
Right.
So they asked me where I wanted to work, and I said, they gave me a choice. They had this park over here in Brooklyn, Tompkins Square Park, which is now the Herbert Von Kuhn Park. And I said, do you? And I said, what's there? And he said, well, they have a theater there. Maybe you can do theater. You said your background is theater also.
Right.
So maybe you can do theater. So I said, okay, I'll rather do that, you know. And I went to Tompkins Square Park and I did theater. I was part of the recreation department, and I had a theater program where I taught theater to young people. I taught theater to senior citizens. I had a little, I call it a little professional theater group of sorts that I called the Neal Ensemble Theater Workshop, you know.
Wow.
You know, based on Negro Ensemble Theater.
Exactly.
I remember I was auditioning people for plays, and my 2 one-act plays I definitely presented there during that period of time. God Made Man in His Own Image, and Disco is just a fad, but the party lasts forever.
Yeah.
I remember, and then I did Douglas Turner's Happy Endings and Day of Absence also there.
And did you do that under the umbrella of the
Parks Department?
Of the Parks Department.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And so I stayed there for 4 years doing theater, and I thought it was a wonderful program, and I wanted to go further with it. But I still remember there was the assistant commissioner of parks. I want to get lights and things for my theater, and I went to his office one day in Central Park, and I said, well, listen, I've been trying to get these lights for my theater for the longest, and he says to me, oh, you've been there for 4 years and you haven't done anything. And I wanted to jump over the table and knock him out, man, you know. Then the next thing I knew, I went back to work, and they said, okay, the CETA program is over. So that prompted me to want to come to the big city, Manhattan, and start looking for work as a legit actor. And I started, ads in show business and things like that. And started reaching out, doing extra work in films and things like The Warriors and things like that. And auditioning for plays, and I stopped at Theater for the New City and did their street theater program, and then there was a play at the New Eureka Poets Cafe by Miguel Pinheiro entitled New Eureka Nights. With Ray Pavold and some wonderful folks, directed by none other than the founder, Miguel Algarin. And that's where it really started to take off for me, at the New Eureka, to develop myself as an actor, director, and producer of theater.
Now, you mentioned Miguel a couple of times, and I want you to talk a little bit about your collaboration with Miguel over these years.
When I first met Miguel took a chance on me because he wanted me to be the lead actor in the play New Eureka Nights, and the actor was the lead character was really Miguel Pinheiro. But Miguel took a chance on this African American actor to play this Puerto Rican playwright who's on the edge at the time, and I really appreciated him for that. though it was a little too heavy for me at that time.
Yeah.
And I pulled out of that to give, not to give the part two, but they decided that Ronaldo Pavone, who was a fantastic actor and playwright, he wrote Cuba and his Teddy Bear later on.
Right.
Went to Broadway with Ralph Macchio and Robert De Niro, but it all started at the New Eurekan for him also.
Yeah.
So, and so when he did that, took me out of the part, I took on another part, but I had an affinity for the New Eurekan and what the spirit of it, and as we stayed in contact, and when they closed for about 5 years for renovation.
Right.
And we opened the New Eurekan Poets Cafe, and at that time, I was brought in with my production of Julius Caesar set in Africa, which Miguel and Bob Pullman, one of the board members, had seen on off-Broadway on 43rd Street. And he said, Rome, when this show closes, we want you to reopen the cafe with Julius Caesar set in Africa. And that set me up to become the director in residence at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe.
Yeah, Rome, that's the time where I first met you, during Julius Caesar set in Africa. And in last year, that particular play came to mind when I saw this movie, Wakanda, the Black Panther movie.
That's interesting. My sons, when we were looking at it, and my son, Treasure, he said, Dad, you know, that just reminds me of your production of Julius Caesar set.
And it hit me the same exact way, Rome. And I want you to talk about that play, how you was able to put the actors together, and what was your process in the way you decided to direct it.
See, this play, I gotta give credit to none other than the great actor, director, Lou Myers. Lou Myers had a production when we were in Tompkins Park in Brooklyn. Lou Myers used to come there with the Chashaka dance group, and they used to do rehearsals in the space. And Lou had this production of Julius Caesar set in Mali. And when he did this production, and he said, Rome, you want to be, I want you to be in it, you know. So I'm doing theater in there. I took on the little small 20 minor roles. So afterwards, Lou had after Lou, we did the production with Lou, I decided to just move on and do other things, but it always stayed in my mind, that production, because I had been to Africa, and I do reading about the kingdoms of Mali and Ghana, and so I wanted to bring that element to Julius Caesar set in Africa.
Yeah.
And wanted Lou to bring back the production, but Lou was busy in Hollywood and Broadway, so I decided to do my own adaptation of Julius Caesar set in Africa.
Yeah.
And add the element of like Julius Caesar being like Kanka Mansa Musa, the emperor of Ghana, who, as an emperor, you have this jealousy and envy within the kingdom, and who finally took Julius Caesar out. It didn't happen to Kanka Mansa Musa, but just giving that element of power, and
absolutely,
and African power at that time.
Right.
So we did this production, and I had the cast for it. So some of the cast members were people from the production of Lou's production of Julius Caesar set in Africa, and other production that Lou did.
Right.
Robert Turner was my Cassius character, and will always be my Cassius character.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he truly is phenomenal. Been in quite a few of the plays that I've done over the years. So it was him, and there was another great actor, my baby brother Lloyd Goodman, who's no longer with us, and he was in the play also, and Ed Seward, the great Ed Seward, the third who was in the play. You know, so I gathered together all these wonderful actors, and we did our first reading of it. We did our first reading of the play at Theater for the New City, and we knew we had something. So
right.
The actors, you know, actors really were hungry for some good work, and so I had all these great actors, and then we decided to pool together our money and present it off Broadway at 43rd Street at the Ernie Martin Theater. We did a month run there.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It was like this was the family that came together and made this happen.
Exactly.
And since then, it started every year, 2 years, I would do a production of Julius Caesar Seven Acts with
Right.
different cast members. I played part of Mark Anthony, and I loved that part, you know.
And you played it well too.
I played it well, but you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew what I was doing for the show, but to realize that, you know, to produce and to direct this fabulous production, you have to direct these actors. You got to get them together first.
Exactly.
Before you can get yourself together.
Right. But you would have played a coach.
To play a coach.
You would have played a coach in effect because you were also in the play.
I was in the play, yeah, but I'm just saying I had to become Mark Anthony.
That's right.
Know? And that was a piece of work, you know. But it happened, and I'm glad, you know, we got great reviews in the back with the show business.
Yeah.
Paper at that time, and you know, it's a classic piece.
It really is.
Classic piece.
Yeah, Rome, I just want to, in our final few minutes, I want to concentrate on two things with you. One is your performance as Thelonious Monk. I've seen it numerous times, and each time I watch that play and watch you perform, I saw something different each and every time I saw it. Tell me about the process of being Monk and presenting Monk on stage.
Well, you know, you hit something there when you say you saw something different each time you saw it, you know, because you can never stop, you know, developing a character. And I found that out, especially with Thelonious Monk, because each time I would do a production, I would meet someone later on, and they would tell me things like about Monk that I needed to have in my spirit, not so much in the play as words or anything like that, but in my spirit of portraying Thelonious Monk on stage. And that was a lot of the work, because I never met Thelonious,
right?
But I had to do the research, you know, like I said earlier, you know, in becoming a jazz vocalist, it was about Monk that took me to the jazz clubs,
right,
and started me to find out what's in the mindset of a jazz musician, what they go through, and what, you know, Monk had to go through. He had the jam sessions he went to. You know, this great musician would play in major spaces and then go to the little small clubs and play there to 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And it's funny that, you know, I found myself as a jazz vocalist doing that, you know.
Exactly.
I may have a major gig over here, you know, singing jazz, but then I want to go out later on and go uptown to Lennox Lounge or something like that, or someplace, and just jam with the rest of the musicians. Because that's the mentality and the spirit of the jazz musician. The music is in you and it stays within you.
That's right.
You know?
And you were learning your craft.
I was learning my craft at the same time, but doing Monk, it was a process of, first, I didn't know who Thelonious Monk was at that time.
Right.
This is some 20-something years ago.
That's right.
I didn't know Thelonious Monk. Lawrence Holder, this guy Lawrence Holder wrote this play about Monk and Bud, and and I got the opportunity to read it with a good friend of mine, and in the reading, something was there. Something, here I am, an actor. I'm taking on readings and doing plays left and right. That was my thing. But it was something about this monk play and this main character, this blue light feeling came over me, and it stayed with me. I did the reading and was unable to do a follow-up reading of the show. And a good friend of mine, Alvin, Alexis, and Tony, played the two characters. Later on, I did the costume design for them, for the costume design for the show for them at Theater for the New City. And I left it alone. And then another playwright came along. His name was Glenn Weiss, and he had a play about Thelonious Monk, Bud Powell, and Nika Pananica.
Right.
And we did readings of that, and he said, I think you'd be great for this Thelonious Monk character. So we did readings. That was the time he got Barry Harris to come to a reading on Theater Row to check it out because he wanted Barry to do the music at that time. Right. So we did the readings of it with Glenn Weiss, but that was a lot of words. It was like a lot. And it's like Monk didn't
he didn't talk much.
He didn't talk that much, so I just couldn't find the nuances. But I had the look and the look of him. That's all I had going for me. Exactly. And so we did it, and then it was funny that Glenn had gotten the opportunity to do the play at La Mama's. Right. That he wrote. Right. And he asked me that I wanted to do it. At that time, I had a daughter who was about 2 years old or something like that. Yeah. And I was Mr. Mom myself, while my wife was working, I was babysitting. Yeah, no, you was being father. Yeah, being father. And he asked me that I wanted to do the play. And I said, I would love to do it, but I have to bring my daughter to the rehearsals. And he said, no, you can't do that. I said, well, I can't do the play. Right. And that was, my daughter was none other than Rome Neal, the two-time Olympic swimmer. Don't get ahead of me on that, Rome. No, okay. I wanna. Okay, let's go. Don't get ahead of me. So I didn't do the play. However, the opportunity came for me for Lawrence Holder. We were doing a play at the National Black Theater Festival. Right. And I directed other Lawrence Holder plays. And Lawrence came to me on the way back from the festival and said, I always wanted you to be my Thelonious Monk. And we talked a little bit more about it. He said, I'm going to write you a one-man show about Thelonious Monk. And he did. And it was like a month later, he wrote this one-man piece. And he said, okay, here it is. Let's go to work. But Rome, I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to go to part 3. Just give me a few minutes of your time. And Rome, thank you so much for these stories, man. We're going to go to part 3, but I want to stop this right here and say, Rome, thank you so much for your time, man. You told some wonderful stories, and I just want to get a few more minutes of your time so we can continue. Is that okay? You got it, brother. You got it.